So the first topic of discussion today is the development of a rubric. So in this particular program, you have covered till date many aspects that are related to evaluation and assessment. So when it comes to check the performance of the student on continuous basis, maybe in a practical class, maybe for a project work, maybe when the teacher is engaging the student in a theoretical class also, lecture halls or tutorial session also, the assessment is compulsory to complete at the part of the teacher, so that we can verify the kind of performance shown by our students over the period of time. So there are certain tools that the teacher can use and design before the initiation of the semester, so that assessment can be happen day to day practices followed by the teacher. So when it comes to the rubric is again an assessment tool, I would say. Assessment tool means the word is taken from the Latin verb astire, meaning to sit with. It means whenever we are assessing the performance of the student, what we are doing, we are collecting information from the on the student learning. So when we said that we are collecting information on the student learning, earlier also we have discussed that when it comes to the collection of the information, the teacher is either going to design a test. So test can be a written test can be a viva voce. So when a teacher is designing a test, there are number of test items that need to be designed by the teacher beforehand, as per the learning outcomes the teacher designed in line with the COs and POs of that particular program. So the first thing, that by the use of the written test, whenever we are collecting information, we come to know that how many students are able to go through or able to achieve those learning outcomes. Second, when the teacher is engaging the students with the help of lecture methods, say for example, and we are asking questions to the student. So when we are asking questions to the student, it is again a hint to me that whatever I am developing throughout my lecture, whether my students are able to understand that information or not. Say I am developing a complex content for my student in a class, and if the students are not able to if the students are not able to clear their doubts with the faculty, they are not able to respond to the simple questions. Somewhere the teacher takes a hint that maybe I need to change a teaching methodology, maybe I need to tailor made that content, maybe I need to give some sort of notes or references to my student, so that my students are able to go through that information in detail. Next is the teaching strategy. So there are many student-centered teaching strategies available with us. Case study method, think, pair, share, numbered head together, jigsaw technique, brainstorming, concept mapping,
Known to unknown.
known to unknown, stump your partner, list pros and cons. So there are many teaching strategies. Is a flipped classroom is a one major example in which the teacher can carry forward the assessment practices also. In a blended classroom, when the teacher is creating an environment where assessment is happening simultaneously, that also help us to collect information related to the performance of the student. So when it comes to the collection of the information, it is not only that I am going to ask questions to my student or I am going to administer a test for my student, but with the selection of different teaching strategies also, it is possible for me to assess the performance of the student. As far as we are from the technical education system, so there are number of courses that demand the skill based practices. So when the teacher is organizing environment in which performance happened, in that particular case the teacher can also organize a performance based test for the student. So in nutshell, when it comes to the information collection or when it comes to an assessment, overall we are in the process of collecting information related to student performance. So you can select any mean, but the purpose is to collect information related to student learning. So when it comes to evaluation, with the help of evaluation, it is possible for me to make certain judgment. So earlier also in this particular course, you have discussed that when it comes to an evaluation, it is the final remarks that is given by the teacher to that particular student. So when I'm saying this particular X student is passed with this much of percentage, or Y student needs improvement, so at the end of the evaluation, I'm giving a final judgment or final remark to my student related to the summarization of assessment information. So when we are saying assessment, assessment means continuously we are trying that student can gradually improve upon. So with the help of assessment feedback, it is possible for me to select appropriate method and media by the use of which the quality of work that the students are producing in presence of me as a faculty can improved upon. But when the student is appearing for a final examination, or when the student is appearing for a final practical examination, or viva voce, it is the final judgment or remark passed by the teacher that for this particular student, this much of effort we have put in within the semester, and up to this extent we are able to shift the level of the student. So maybe earlier the student was at the level C. Within the semester, the kind of assessment followed by the teacher, it is possible for the teacher to shift the level from C to B. So that is the final remark that I am giving to my student, that within an academic year the student is able to develop this much of quality or this much of performance under the presence of the different assessment activities. So in nutshell, when we said assessment, assessment is not evaluation. Assessment is a continuous activity. We are designing target specific tasks. Now the question is what we mean by target specific task. When we set target specific tasks, so it is not only the cognitive ability that we are focusing upon, it is also the psychomotor skill along with the behavioral component that we are focusing upon. So when I'm saying, say for example, there is one student who is very good as far as the theoretical understanding is concerned, and student is able to get very good marks in a written test. When it comes to the practical performance, student is also again very good in terms of data collection, interpretation and analysis. But when it comes to presenting information to the rest of the student in a class, maybe in a presentation, maybe in any public speaking forum, that student is not much confidently deliver that kind of information. So as a teacher, my target is not just I'm focusing on the written test ability or the practical ability of the student. I want to develop the student in terms of presentation skill also. So whenever I'm designing an assessment activity, my target is the student in my class who are not able to deliver confidently in public or in front of audiences. Those students will also be able to deliver information in a confident manner for technical audiences. So that become my target specific task. So I will identify the strength and weaknesses available in my student in a class, and as per the weaknesses available, I am going to enhance their skill and ability. But at the same time, after identifying few weaknesses, I will work for those dimensions also. So ultimately we have to develop an holistic personality among our class students. So it is not only the hard skill in which I am focusing upon, but at the same time I am also focusing upon the different soft skills ability of the student. So assessment is not evaluation. I will not say that if today the student is not able to present, tomorrow again the student is not going to present. I will create an environment in which I will give practice to my student to present that information in a confident manner. And when in say at the end of the semester for the minor project work or for the major project work, or maybe for third and fourth semester student for their industrial training, when they are presenting information, they are presenting information in a structured manner. Then I will pass a final remark that yes, in this semester it is possible for me to improve the ability in terms of presentation among student. That is the final evaluation of the student. Testing, measurement and assessment are not same, but in many of the policies nowadays we are using these things interchangeably. So that we need to understand. So whenever we are designing assessment practices, we need to identify what are the different target specific tasks that we need to give to our student. Another important thing that we need to ask ourselves is where we are heading in assessment. So when I'm saying that where we are heading in assessment, we need to focus upon the kind of student population we have at institute level. So it is not that assessment that we are following at NITA Chandigarh. Same assessment practices you can also follow or integrate at your institute level. It is totally dependent upon what kind of student population you have at your institute. So for example, at NITA Chandigarh, whenever we are planning activities, we considering that in every STC we have matured learner, There are faculty members who are senior enough, they have their past experiences, they have their own challenges in teaching learning activities. So there are open ended kind of assignment that are given to the faculty member to collect information that what is actually happening in technical education system as a whole. So but if for a student level, if for the masters or btech level student I need to give an assessment activity that is mainly focused upon the course outcome that is already specified by the curriculum, and as per that course curriculum we need to identify that what kind of skill, what kind of knowledge, what kind of behavior these students need to reflect upon in different situation. So student population need to be identified first whenever we are finalizing the assessment activities at departmental level. So, in as per new education policy, we have already discussed that assessment must focus upon learning. So, our purpose is to develop higher order thinking skills among student, and my student must be able to uh, learn something new every day in the presence of the faculty. And what the result of these kind of assessment practices, it help us to change our teaching learning activities. So when I'm saying it help us to change their teaching learning activity, suppose there is a student in your class and you are using a lecture method of teaching for that particular class student. So when you are using a lecture method, one student out of the blue stand up in a class and said that this particular information is already available on Google, or there is XYZ textbook that is available, and from that textbook you are delivering all kind of information. So why I need to be in this particular lecture? I can read that textbook, I can understand the content from the content available on YouTube, and I can go through with the amount of information. I need not to be there all the time to listen to the repeated information. It means the students are focusing on their learning. वो स्टूडेंट किस चीज पे फोकस कर रहा है, दैट वेदर एन एडवांस लर्निंग इज हैपनिंग इन अ क्लास और नॉट, और वेदर आई एम लिसनिंग टू द रिपीटेड information again and again. If that kind of case is happening in a class, it means the teacher need to use a flipped classroom of teaching approach. So the content is already available, go prepare your content, the classes will be used for discussion and presentation purposes. If there are two students in your class, the second case may be if there are two students in your class and one student is very good in terms of IQ ability, that student is able to go through that information individually, able to solve complex problems also, and there is another student who always needs support, who needs structured information, who needs faculty to develop the information step by step. So there are two variety of students available in a class, and the single teacher is going to deal with both the student within a semester. It means whenever I am designing activities for the student, there must be focus that there are group of students available in my class. So if I'm in an assignment or in a tutorial sheet, if I'm designing one complex statement, that one complex statement is going to cater the need of the student who are very good in terms of their IQ ability. So जो मैंने अपना section C या last statement है, वो मैं किन students के लिए specifically define कर रही हूँ? The student with high IQ ability able to go through that information and able to develop thinking up to the higher order. So वो एक मैंने specific problem design करी है कि मैं उन students की need को भी cater करूँ. There are few statements that are moderate in terms of complexity. So IQ level के ability के basis पे मैं अपनी पूरी tutorial sheets को design कर रही हूँ. There may be few students जो सिर्फ किस part पर कर पाएंगे, define something, give an example, write a formula. So हमारे पास class में वो भी group है. So my purpose is for the student who focusing on remembering and understanding, उनको मैंने किस लेवल पे लेके जाना है? एप्लीकेशन एंड एनालिसिस. जो एप्लीकेशन एंड एनालिसिस पे हैं, दे नीड टू बी शिफ्ट ऑन हायर ऑर्डर, और जो हायर ऑर्डर के ऊपर ऑलरेडी अवेलेबल हैं, दो स्टूडेंट नीड टू हैव रिफ्लेक्शन based activities. So whenever we are developing information, the explanation need to be developed in such a way that there must be some advanced information available to cater the needs of those students. उन स्टूडेंट के लिए टीचर को ज्यादा एफर्ट नहीं करना पड़ता. टीचर नीड टू प्रोवाइड रेफरेंसेस एंड दे विल सेल्फ स्टडी, बट द स्टूडेंट्स whose abilities are not developed that much, for those we need to consider all kind of activities happening in a classroom environment. So assessment is whenever we are planning for why we are discussing this. So whenever we are going to design a rubric sheet, that rubric sheet is for all the class students. So whenever we are designing not only rubric, any of the evaluation tool or any of the assessment tool, that assessment tool is for the student. That assessment tool is designed as per the curriculum given, as per the curriculum analyzed, and as per the course outcomes designed for that particular subject. Now, next step is teacher going to map those course outcomes with the learning outcome, so that ultimately the student is able to achieve the major objective of that particular program. And with the help of different teaching learning methodologies or media, the teacher will specifically cater to the needs of the students available in a class. If I take example of me, when I'm learning, or at present also when I'm collecting information or learning a new topic, I need information from multiple websites. I need information from multiple resources. I listen to information, I will read information, I will critically analyze information, I will prepare my own structured information. Only then I will be satisfied that yes, this particular information is accurate. Now there may be another faculty who read information from multiple resources, but that faculty do not require or do not need the information to be written in a structured manner. So that is the choice of that particular faculty. So whenever we are designing teaching learning activities or methodology, we need to consider the kind of learners available in my class, and one day or another day we need to cater the needs of those students also. So whenever we are designing an assessment tool, it is not as per the choice of the department, it is as per the curriculum given, and the requirement of the curriculum need to be focused upon. But at the same time, the kind of student population you have at institute level, that also need to be focused. Now, when it comes to the rubric sheet, rubric is basically a Latin verb. The meaning of this particular verb is the red earth for coloring. So, in this rubric tool, whenever we are designing this particular criteria, we need to consider that there is a relationship between the learning outcome, assessment method, and scoring method. लर्निंग आउटकम में, असेसमेंट मेथड में एंड स्कोरिंग मेथड में व्हाई देयर इज नीड टू बी अ रिलेशनशिप. से फॉर एग्जांपल योर लर्निंग आउटकम इज डिफाइन समथिंग, आपका असेसमेंट मेथड क्या होगा? इट कैन बी द रिटन टेस्ट और इट कैन बी द क्वेश्चन ओनली इन अ क्लास. स्कोरिंग मेथड क्या होगा? रिटन टेस्ट के लिए आप एक स्कोरिंग मेथड डिफाइन करोगे जब हम ओके. अभी मुझे लग रहा है टेस्ट को जो मैंने बनाया है, तो मैं थोड़ा अप लेवल का बनाया हुआ है कि वो साथ में डाउन वाले बच्चों को रखें कि कितने बच्चे कम से कम इस कितनी परसेंटेज को अचीव करें. मैंने एक टारगेट कर दिया कि ये टारगेट 50% अचीव करने चाहिए, और 50% से ऊपर कितने परसेंट बच्चे ले पा रहे हैं. ओके, तो उसके हिसाब से उनके वो मिल जाएगा. अभी हमें 20% बच्चे ऐसे आए हैं जो 80% उससे रोक कर पाए. Okay, thank you very much. Very rightly added by sir, that whenever the teacher is designing different practices, there is a relationship between all the things. So whenever you are designing a learning outcome, and assessment method need to be defined by the teacher. That assessment method also help us to define the final scoring method. So as said by sir, that if the students are not able to achieve that target specified by the faculty, it is the hint to the teacher that what need to be done for this particular population. So again, the teacher need to redefine the learning outcomes. So that will provide a complete picture that how there is a relationship between these three terms, and what a teacher need to do whenever there is some sort of relationship that is occurring between the three. So that is why there is one tool, that is rubric, used nowadays by the teachers, that represent the performance expectations for an assignment or a piece of work. When sir said na, there is some target defined by me, so that target is in a written form in terms of a rubric sheet. So whatever test, whatever assessment criteria you have designed for your student, that assessment criteria need to be available with the student so that they can prepare for that assessment method. So first I want to show you the rubric sheet just to have a hint that what we mean by rubric. So for example, your target is that student must be able to present information in a research-based seminar activity. So you want your student to very good in terms of presentation skill, in terms of information collection, in terms of utilization of visual aid, and in terms of class participation. So when you said that on a given date or at given time there is a seminar conducted for all of you in this particular room, the student may be preparing for that particular seminar by considering different kind of dimension. Many of the students spending most of the time for the designing of the PowerPoint presentation slide, structuring of the information. But if, as a teacher, my target is not the design of the presentation. My target is for that PowerPoint presentation how they are collecting information. There are many of the members जब कुछ मतलब presenters होते हैं, there are few public speakers, their slides are very attractive, animations होती हैं, there are sounds, there are many effects caused on those particular slide. There may be few presenters जिनकी एक simple slides आपके पास display होती है, but there is different kind of explanation developed by the presenter. So it is the choice of the presenter how they are going to present information. So as a teacher, when you are assigning a seminar as an activity, maybe your purpose is not the design of PowerPoint presentation, but the kind of information that is collected by the student. But at the same time, this feedback is not available with the student. जब आप क्लास में सिर्फ ये अनाउंस करोगे कि टुमारो विल बी योर सेमिनार, just a seminar without giving any instruction, the student can prepare for that activity by their own choice and choices may vary. हर ग्रुप की चॉइसेस डिफरेंट हो सकती हैं. इन दैट पर्टिकुलर सेंस इट इज डिफिकल्ट फॉर द टीचर टू डेवलप अ कॉमन काइंड ऑफ असेसमेंट प्रैक्टिस. आपका असेसमेंट क्राइटेरिया क्या रहेगा? एक बच्चे का इंफॉर्मेशन कलेक्शन बहुत अच्छा है, ही इज प्रेजेंटिंग इंफॉर्मेशन इन एन एक्यूरेट मैनर, बट पावर पॉइंट प्रेजेंटेशन ही सिंपली सेलेक्टेड फ्रॉम एन इंटरनेट रिसोर्स, present those slides and then develop verbal explanation. There may be another student who design slides by his or her own, but somewhere he is not able to present information in an accurate manner. So there is variety of the work that is produced by the same class student. So when we are giving this kind of written criteria to the student come to know that my teacher is going to assess my performance on the basis of these dimensions only, and these are the things that I need to develop for this particular activity. Another is this seminar is for research based seminar. Maybe a second example, the teacher from the subject of communication skill calls for presentation activity. So the communication skill teacher want the student to display good verbal as well as non-verbal behavior. The student is able to present information to the audiences and able to respond to the questions asked by the audiences. So class participation is there, very good verbal and non-verbal behavior is the demand of that activity. So teacher वहाँ पे सिर्फ 3 dimension के basis पे classify करेगा, verbal and non-verbal behavior, collection of information by the student and class participation, how interesting that presentation was. So depending upon आपकी presentation activity किस context में, किस environment में है, the nature of the activity is going to be changed. So those kind of information need to be available with the student beforehand so that they can work for that particular learning outcome rather than spending time on different activities. अगर मेरा objective उनसे explain करवाना है, differentiate या compare कराना है, तो I need to create a different kind of learning environment. If my purpose is my student need to demonstrate activity, there may be a requirement of a different environment for the student. हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं टेक्निकल एजुकेशन सिस्टम में? मोस्ट ऑफ द फैकल्टी मेंबर्स आर गिविंग written assignment again and again. We are not providing time to our students to think upon that information. In every class there is exposure of new information. जो भी टीचर जाता है क्लास में, time is 10 o'clock, like me, entered in the hall, time is 10 o'clock, I start developing verbal explanation again and again. If I am not giving reflection based activity to my class student, my students are not processing that information. They are just listening to the information given by the teacher. तो जब वो इंफॉर्मेशन को, इतनी इंफॉर्मेशन को वो असिमिलेट ही नहीं कर पा रहा. टीचर कितने लेक्चर दे रहा है इन अ डे? मे बी 2 or 3. Students are listening to 8 long lectures in a day. So every time we are exposing to new information, but at the same time, if the classes are not used for reflection based activity, we are not giving time to our students to think upon information. बट जब हम अपनी डेवलपमेंट की बात करते हैं, वी स्टार्टेड फ्रॉम द लेवल ऑफ रिमेम्बरिंग, अंडरस्टैंडिंग अप टू इवैल्यूएशन एंड क्रिएशन. क्लासेस हम किसके लिए यूज कर रहे हैं? ओनली अप टू एनालिसिस और एप्लीकेशन बेस्ड मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम. सो व्हेन आई सेड द इवैल्यूएशन टूल वेयर योर परफॉर्मेंस एक्सपेक्टेशन represent for an assignment or a piece of work, it means the teacher need to think upon that particular activity, need to think upon on what basis I want to develop the performance of my student, and likewise I will develop an criteria. So अगर आप written assignment दे रहे हैं, maybe your objective is to develop writing abilities among student. If you are giving presentation skill or seminar based activity again and again, you want your student to comprehend information and present information in an accurate manner. Somewhere we are also working for the non-verbal behavior of the student. If the teacher is giving practice based exercises to the student, that is not open ended. आप closed response questions दे रहे हैं, those are not open ended. So we just want the student to process information that is available in the curriculum. If I'm giving few open ended statements to the student, I want to add divergent thinking capability among my class student so that they can think out of the box. So it is the teacher who is going to decide the performance expectations of that particular activity. Rubric हमें क्या करेगा? That explicitly represent the performance expectation of an assignment or a piece of work. अगर आप presentation skill दे रहे हो, at departmental level you need to define what you are going to evaluate in presentation skill. Industrial visit है, what are the different dimension on which the student need to work. इंडस्ट्रियल विजिट में स्टूडेंट को भेजने से पहले आप उसको परफॉर्मेंस एक्सपेक्टेशन का एक क्राइटेरिया बना के दे देंगे कि एट द एंड योर इंडस्ट्रियल विजिट और इंडस्ट्रियल ट्रेनिंग विल बी इवैल्यूएटेड ऑन दीज पैरामीटर्स. अगर आप उनको कोई रिटर्न असाइनमेंट दे रहे हो, there must be a performance criteria that need to be given to the student, because in this information age, say a written assignment given by the teacher, there may be one student who spent 6 hours for the completion of that assignment. There may be another student who just took 10 to 15 minutes for the completion of that particular assignment. So at present, whenever we are giving activity, the teacher need to think twice what time, kind of effort, what kind of expectation the student need to fulfill for this particular assignment and for this particular activity. So your performance expectations are already clear to the student. So whenever we are developing rubric, not only rubric, any of the evaluation criteria, it is as per the learning outcomes designed by the teacher. So when I'm saying as per the learning outcomes designed by the teacher, learning outcome may be skill based. Learning performance can be on the basis of actual performance or the product performance, or maybe affective characteristics. Say in a practical class, in a laboratory investigation class, when the students are performing an activity, we are not just focusing on that the student will complete this particular activity or particular performance within that specified time. Laboratory evaluation is divided into 4 different factors. That is process evaluation. Process means how the student need to perform that activity. मेरे स्टूडेंट को इक्विपमेंट के मटेरियल्स के नाम पता होने चाहिए. They know the parts of the machinery. They know their working condition, what kind of safety precaution they need to consider while working on that particular machine. जब आपने एक्सपेरिमेंट करना है, what are the different steps they need to follow to complete that experimental investigation activity. So that is the part of process evaluation. Product, किस तरह का प्रोडक्ट डिमांड करे. इज देयर अ रिटन मैनुअल एट इंस्टीट्यूट वेयर द स्टूडेंट नीड टू कलेक्ट डेटा एंड इंटरप्रेट द डेटा. सो उस केस में मेरे रिटन मैनुअल के कोई मार्क्स नहीं है. I'm already providing all the details to the student in a printed form. सिर्फ डेटा एनालिसिस एंड इंटरप्रिटेशन के मार्क्स हैं. व्हाट काइंड ऑफ प्रेजेंटेशन यू आर डिमांडिंग फ्रॉम दैट लेबोरेटरी इन्वायरमेंट, जो भी आपका प्रोडक्ट होगा, चाहे आपकी लैब रिपोर्ट है, वाइवा वो से है, सॉरी लैब रिपोर्ट है या डेटा एनालिसिस के ग्राफ हैं, दैट कैन बिकम योर प्रोडक्ट परफॉर्मेंस. Most importantly, in a laboratory environment, the students are working within a group. So when the students are working in a group, maybe discipline, maybe follow up of the safety precaution, maybe optimal utilization of time and resources. तो ये सारे किसके पार्ट हैं? उसके बिहेवियर के पार्ट. तो हमारी थर्ड इवेल्युएशन लेबोरेटरी में किस बेस पे होती है? जनरल बिहेवियर ऑफ द स्टूडेंट. एंड लास्ट, वाइवा was a conducted for the student. As per the choice of the teacher can also go for a written test in laboratory class. In some of the very good universities, teachers are not giving written assignment in a theory classes. They are giving assignments in laboratory practices. कि एक objective करा दिया, with the help of one name, the experiment is already done by the student. The assignment may be find out different ways to solve the similar kind of problem, or application based problem given to the student, and now responses collected from the student that how they can collect information or how they can solve these kind of practical problem with the help of this experimental procedure. So when we set learning outcomes, as per learning outcome we are going to design the rubric sheet. Learning outcome for laboratory environment may be process, product, behavior and viva voce related. So likewise we are going to design this tool. Another reason that why we need to give written criteria of assessment to the student, because there are variety of students available in your class and there are variety of work that is produced by the students in a class. So when the teacher is able to know about this particular kind of variation, it would sense and help faculty to understand that what can be the resulting spectrum of grade for the classroom assessment. For the last question, when sir said there is one target that is specified by me for a test, so अगर बच्चा उस target से below marks ले रहा है or the student is gaining higher marks than the target defined, it means there is a scale available with the teacher that few students are in excellent category, few are in good category and few students needs improvement. So whenever we are able to judge the variations that is available in a class, that help us to define the grade of the scales also. Say for example, if I'm saying excellent student in your class, excellent is a very subjective kind of a term. Your meaning for excellence may be different, my meaning of excellence may be different. So whenever I am defining excellence, that is as per the student available with me. Your level of excellence may be as per the student available with you. Say for example, for my MTech level student, I am ensured that those students are able to present information in an confident manner. क्योंकि यहाँ पे वो जिस माहौल में, जिस इन्वायरमेंट में, द काइंड ऑफ लर्निंग इन्वायरमेंट प्रिवेलिंग ओवर देयर, द स्टूडेंट्स आर एबल टू प्रेजेंट इन्फॉर्मेशन इन अ कॉन्फिडेंट मैनर. तो जब मैं उनका एक्सीलेंट स्केल डिफाइन करूंगी, आई विल एक्सपेक्ट दैट ऑल द स्टूडेंट्स आर वेरी गुड इन टर्म्स ऑफ देयर वर्बल एज वेल एज नॉन वर्बल बिहेवियर. So my level, another faculty in another remote region institution may be, if my student is able to present information in front of audiences, maybe not a very good non-verbal behavior, maybe not a very good verbal explanation, but that student is excellent enough that he is able to present information in an specified manner. कभी कभी होता है ना कि हम प्रेजेंटेशन देते हैं, क्लास में कई स्टूडेंट्स आते नहीं है, एब्सेंट हो गए, आए नहीं, बिकॉज दे आर नॉट कॉन्फिडेंट व्हेन इट कम्स टू प्रेजेंटिंग इन्फॉर्मेशन. सो आपका एक्सीलेंस लेवल प्रेजेंटेशन का आपके अकॉर्डिंग डिसाइड होगा. हमारे इंस्टीट्यूट में एक्सीलेंस लेवल एज पर द स्टूडेंट अवेलेबल विद अस, बट हमने एक ग्रेड डिफाइन कर लिया. आपका एक्सीलेंस डिफरेंट है, मेरे एक्सीलेंस का जो ग्रेड है दैट इज डिफरेंट. सो रूब्रिक हमें इस चीज में भी हेल्प करता है कि हमारे पास अगर वैरायटी ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स एंड वैरायटी ऑफ स्केल्स अवेलेबल है, what can be the most suitable scale we will be able to use for our student. So जो हम rubric आपको दिखाई थी पहले, the rubric that was displayed to all of you, in this particular rubric when I said excellent को मैंने कितने नंबर दिए? 4 नंबर. कितने हैं? above 81. मैं A ग्रेड में ये भी कह सकती थी 100 to 90. बट मैंने एक्सीलेंस कहाँ तक रखा है, अबव 81. गुड पॉइंट 61 to 80%. द रेंज में वेरी एज पर द लेवल ऑफ द स्टूडेंट. हो सकता है किसी इंस्टीट्यूशन में 100 to 90 पे कहते हैं ए, उसके बाद वाले सारे किस कैटेगरी में है, बी कैटेगरी में अप टू 70. सो रूब्रिक आपके एक्सीलेंस लेवल को डिफाइन करने में हेल्प करेगा. हाउ द टीचर इज गोइंग टू डिफाइन दिस ग्रेड ऑफ स्पेक्ट्रम डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ द स्टूडेंट डिस्प्लेड इन डिफरेंट असेसमेंट एक्टिविटीज. आपको आपके सेमेस्टर के इनिशियल 10 to 15 days में we come to know what level of students available with us in our classes, and likewise we can define the scale of this rubric sheet. So it is clear that whenever we are designing a rubric sheet, किसकी चॉइस से होगा ये, कौन डिसाइड कर रहा है कि what will be the scale, what will be the dimension, what will be the description, who is going to design the criteria? नहीं, ये क्राइटेरिया डिजाइन कौन करेगा, टीचर करेगा. द क्राइटेरिया विल बी डिजाइंड बाय द टीचर, but once the teacher is going to design this particular criteria, all the departmental faculty will provide input to this particular criteria. अगर हमारे पास variety के students available हैं, there are variety of faculty members also available in a student. Expectation level may be varied. So every departmental faculty, once they agreed upon that particular criteria, only then this criteria will be used for student population. So rubric हमेशा किस level पे prepare होंगी, at departmental level. Now the question arises, there are 6 different subjects in 6 different semesters within the department. तो आप कितनी rubric sheets prepare करोगे, हर subject के लिए अलग अलग rubric sheet नहीं prepare करोगे. You need to classify what are the different assessment activities we are going to give. Laboratory class है अगर subjects में, the same kind of rubric sheet will be used for all the laboratory classes. Depending upon their nature must be similar. जैसे chemical है, mechanical है, textile branch है, उनकी laboratory investigations are similar by nature. तो उनका जो rubric for evaluation of laboratory practice होगा, that is of same kind of criteria. Okay? आपका कंप्यूटर साइंस है, आईटी है, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस है, स्पेशलाइजेशन इन आईओटी है, द सिमिलर काइंड ऑफ लेबोरेटरी प्रैक्टिसेस, तो आपकी एक जो असेसमेंट ऑफ लेबोरेटरी शीट है वो सेम रहेगी. रिसर्च बेस्ड प्रेजेंटेशन एक्टिविटी फॉर ऑल द सब्जेक्ट द सेम रूब्रिक शीट विल बी यूज्ड. रिटन असाइनमेंट, आपका लर्निंग ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है, आपने स्टूडेंट की राइटिंग को इम्प्रूव करना है, कोहेरेंट, कंसाइज, लॉजिकल, स्ट्रक्चर्ड. So learning outcomes are these. So same kind of rubric sheet will be used by all the faculty members irrespective of the subject. हर सब्जेक्ट के लिए डिफरेंट रूब्रिक शीट डिजाइन नहीं होगी. करिकुलम के हिसाब से हम डिपार्टमेंटल लेवल पे we will define what are the different assessment activities. Based on those assessment activities we will define generalized rubric criteria with consent from all the departmental faculty. Say मैंने इस रूब्रिक शीट में लिखा है यूटिलाइजेशन ऑफ डिफरेंट विजुअल एड. से फॉर एग्जांपल विजुअल एड्स नॉट अवेलेबल एट इंस्टीट्यूट लेवल, किसी इंस्टीट्यूट में विजुअल एड है ही नहीं, और मैं उसके 5 मार्क्स ऐड कर रही हूँ अपनी रूब्रिक शीट में. इट मीन्स ये रूब्रिक शीट उस इंस्टीट्यूशन के लिए एप्लीकेबल नहीं है. यू नीड टू थिंक ऑफ सम अदर डायमेंशन फॉर द स्टूडेंट. ईदर प्रोवाइड रिसोर्सेज टू द स्टूडेंट को अपने विजुअल एड्स को यूज कर सके. स्टूडेंट अब घर से लेके नहीं आएगा ना विजुअल एड, द इंस्टीट्यूट नीड टू प्रोवाइड दैट क्राइटेरिया. तो जब आप अपना रूब्रिक शीट डिपार्टमेंटल लेवल पे डिसाइड करेंगे, what kind of practices followed at departmental level, what kind of resources available with the student, what kind of flexibility given to the student to use those resources, and finally by defining the scale of this grade we are going to design specific rubric sheet. So earlier when it comes to the design, initially when it comes to the design of the rubric sheet, it is a very rigorous activity. It is not easy to design a rubric sheet, but once this criteria is defined at departmental level, the teacher can use this particular criteria for the semesters to come. आपका सिर्फ क्या चेंज होगा, according to the quality of the admission, the scale of the rubric is going to be changed. आपका excellence, good, fair, poor और needs improvement वाला स्केल चेंज हो सकता है, बट द मेजर क्राइटेरिया विल रिमेन द सेम until unless the 100% syllabus is not being revised. आपकी कोर्स आउटकम चेंज नहीं होंगी, लर्निंग आउटकम चेंज नहीं होंगी, आपका क्राइटेरिया चेंज नहीं होगा. तो इंडिविजुअल फैकल्टी रूब्रिक डिजाइन नहीं करेगा, इट इज द डिपार्टमेंट हु इज गोइंग टू डिफाइन द क्राइटेरिया फॉर स्टूडेंट असेसमेंट. डायमेंशंस किस हिसाब से डिफाइन करोगे? द काइंड ऑफ रिसोर्सेज और काइंड ऑफ इनपुट provided by the teacher. It is an unethical practice to assess the student without giving information to the student. So when I'm saying without going information, so जो मेरी teaching में reflect नहीं हो रहा, I cannot assess that part, or I need not to assess that information. Say many a time teachers said give 2 examples. Class में example कभी दी नहीं है. तो आप स्टूडेंट से कैसे पूछ रहे हो कि गिव 2 examples फ्रॉम द रियल लाइफ और फ्रॉम द इंडस्ट्री? इट मीन्स दैट verbal explanation need to be developed by the teacher beforehand before asking these kind of statements to the student. So when it comes to the design of the rubric, there is a standard format that we need to use. So this is the standard format. Even when we are dealing with the Google Classroom kind of platforms, in Google Classrooms also the format is provided. But उस format में fill क्या करना है? This is as per the choice of the department. Rubric आपको Google Classroom is providing you the format of that particular rubric sheet. It is the department who is going to decide that what need to be the assessment criteria. So सबसे पहले हमारे rubric में क्या आता है? Task description. Task description will involve all kind of performance expectation. Say for example, changing community in our city, ये है presentation that I am going to give to my class student. The time of the presentation, मैं कितने मिनट में presentation चाहती हूँ student की? Just in 5 minutes. 5 minute में the student need to present information. क्या information present करनी है? Changes in research community over the past 30 years. पिछले 30 साल का डेटा कलेक्ट करेगा और information कितने मिनट में present करेगा वो? Within 5 minutes. It means there may be maximum 1 or 2 slides in that presentation, not more than that. 5 मिनट में वो 2 slides present कर पाएगा. Student may focus the presentation in any way he or she wishes, but there need to be a thesis of some sort, not just a chronological exposition. मैं ये नहीं चाहती कि वो 30 साल की इंफॉर्मेशन का एक टेबल बना के दे दे. I want information in conclusive manner कि पिछले 30 साल में इस एरिया में क्या हो रखा है, उसका मुझे एक कंक्लूजन दे दे. By collecting information, the presentation will include appropriate photograph, map, graph and other visual aid. 2 slides में वो कंटेंट लिख तो नहीं पाएगा. तो मैंने अपनी एक्सपेक्टेशन दे दी कि या तो मुझे पिक्टोरियल्स व्यू प्रोवाइड करो, या अपना जो आपने डेटा कलेक्ट करा उसको ग्राफिकल फॉर्म में प्रेजेंट करो एंड एक्सप्लेन दैट इंफॉर्मेशन विद इन 5 minutes. So these are my expectations for that particular task. So when the teacher is saying an activity is presentation skill, the teacher need to give hints that what the student need to involve in that presentation skill. आप अपने dimension में लिख रहे हो time management. आपने जब assignment दी थी, आपने student को बताना था कि presentation आपके कितने minutes की है. Is it for 5 minutes? Is it for 7 minutes? Or is it for 10 minutes? What kind of presentation you demanded? Is it research based activity? Information collect करनी है. Say you said information collected. Student can collect information from textbook resources. Student can collect information from web resources. Student can collect information from authentic journals. So what kind of information you considered as an excellent information? So that need to be clearly defined to the student in the task description itself. Next is scale. Scale can be quantitative, scale can be qualitative, depending upon for what purpose you are designing a rubric. अगर आपका rubric assessment directly going to involve in your internal evaluation part, तो आपका जो board का criteria है to give marks to the student, that need to be followed in a rubric sheet also. कि अगर आपके लेस देन 40% फेल हैं, तो आपके रूब्रिक में भी पुअर कैटेगरी में लेस देन 40% विल बी द फेल कैंडिडेट. अगर आपके मोर देन 80% इज इन ए कैटेगरी, तो रूब्रिक में भी आपका स्केल क्या रहेगा? एक्सीलेंट, 100 to 80% ए ग्रेड. And whenever we are designing rubric for classroom assessment purposes, internal evaluation नहीं, जब आप classroom assessment activity की बात कर रहे हो, there must be a positive kind of vocabulary, there must be non-judgmental and non-competitive language that need to be used by the teacher. क्योंकि क्लासरूम असेसमेंट का पर्पस क्या है, एनईपी किस चीज पे फोकस कर रही है, असेसमेंट ऑन, फोकस ऑन असेसमेंट फॉर लर्निंग. हम स्टूडेंट को डिसंगेज नहीं कर रहे. आर पर्पस ऑफ असेसमेंट इज टू improve the learning ability among student. That is why to engage the students in a classroom environment in a written criteria, there must be positive terms, there must be non-judgmental and non-competitive. I can write fail, I can write emerging, I can write needs improvement, I can write beginning level. वो अगर आपका इंटरनल इवेल्युएशन में है ना, इफ यू आर यूजिंग एनी एक्टिविटी, से फॉर एग्जांपल लेबोरेटरी में आप कोई टेस्ट कंडक्ट कर रहे हो जो आपकी इंटरनल इवेल्युएशन का पार्ट है, उसमें डायरेक्ट आपको अपने बोर्ड वाला क्राइटेरिया यूज करना पड़ेगा. उसमें पुअर क्या है, लेस देन 40%. सो स्टूडेंट डायरेक्टली कम टू नो कि अगर मैं इस डायमेंशन में पुअर हूँ तो इस डायमेंशन में आई एम फेल. बट इफ इट इज फॉर क्लासरूम असेसमेंट, अवॉइड यूजिंग नेगेटिव टर्म्स. बोर्ड के एज अ फैकल्टी वी नीड टू फॉलो द रूल्स ऑल्सो. सो अकेडमिक क्राइटेरिया हमें फॉलो करना पड़ेगा, बट इन आर डे टू डे रूटीन वी नीड टू फॉलो पॉजिटिव काइंड ऑफ वोकैबुलरी. सो टास्क डिस्क्रिप्शन आप ऊपर दोगे, देन देयर विल बी स्केल, इट कैन बी क्वांटिटेटिव, इट कैन बी क्वालिटेटिव. थर्ड पार्ट ऑफ द रूब्रिक इज द डायमेंशंस. डायमेंशंस मीन्स आपने इसमें आपने इस कोर्स में आपने लेसन प्लान करा है, लेसन प्लान एक्टिविटी हुई है इसमें, लेसन प्लान. सो इसमें सिंपली आपने क्या करना है, यू नीड टू थिंक अपॉन दैट एक्टिविटी एंड डिवाइड दैट एक्टिविटी इनटू नंबर ऑफ सब पार्ट. जैसे हमने प्रैक्टिकल क्लास की बात करी थी ना कि पहले वो प्रोसेस कंप्लीट करेगा, फिर वो प्रोडक्ट करेगा, साथ के साथ टीचर विल इवैल्यूएट द बिहेवियर ऑफ द स्टूडेंट आल्सो, and at the end viva voce will be conducted in the laboratory class. So these are the activities the student going to follow in a laboratory practice. प्रेजेंटेशन में डिफरेंट तरह की एक्टिविटीज हैं, इंडस्ट्रियल विजिट में डिफरेंट एक्टिविटीज, वर्कशॉप प्रैक्टिस और डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ एक्टिविटीज, industrial training, different type of activities are there. So whenever we are designing a rubric, we need to think upon that activity and divide that activity into number of sub parts. Should actually represent the type of component skill student must combine in a successful scholarly work. Now जब मैंने अपनी डिस्क्रिप्शन को क्लासिफाई करना है, आई नीड टू थिंक अपॉन that what we mean by excellent work, good work, beginning level work in this particular category. So when I'm saying communication skill, say for example, when I'm saying communication skill, आपकी excellent communication में presentation में क्या आता है, hold attention of entire audiences with the use of direct eye contact, seldom looking at notes, excellent in terms of communication skill, speaks with voice modulation to maintain audience interest and emphasize key point and make best utilization of time. If he or she is displaying these kind of presentation skill, that person is in excellent category. जब मैं कहती हूँ द स्टूडेंट पुअर कैटेगरी में, पुअर में क्या होगा, मिनिमल आई कॉन्टेक्ट विद ऑडियंसेस while reading mostly from the notes and slides, speaks in uneven volume with little or no inflection. एवरेज कैटेगरी क्या है, डिस्प्ले लेस आई कॉन्टेक्ट विद ऑडियंस, रीडिंग पार्शियली फ्रॉम नोट्स. पुअर वाला फुली फ्रॉम नोट्स कर रहा है एंड फेयर वाला पार्शियली फ्रॉम नोट्स, स्पीक्स इन अनइवन वॉल्यूम एंड नॉट वेरी गुड इन टर्म्स ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन स्किल. So whenever we are defining the descriptions of the rubric sheet, we need to clearly think upon that what we mean by performance, excellence, good, average or needs improvement in this particular dimension. So वो आपकी क्या बन जाएगी, description of dimension. So student can clearly differentiate कि अगर मैं A कैटेगरी में हूँ या D कैटेगरी में हूँ तो मेजर डिफरेंस कहाँ पे, where I need to improve upon. Yes sir. Whenever we are going to give an activity to the student, along with an activity this particular criteria will be given to the student. अगर आपके पास learning management facility available है system, upload the criteria on that platform. If it is not available, these rubric sheet can be displayed on the circular board or even in the classroom the teacher can distribute. तो जब मैं कहूँगी presentation, along with the presentation this rubric the student need to follow. उसी बेसिस पे टीचर उस एक्टिविटी को इवेलुएट करेगा. Now the next question arises when it comes to the dimension. How many dimensions? एक टीचर एक्टिविटी को 10 पार्ट में डिवाइड कर रहा है, दूसरा 8 में कर रहा है, थर्ड फैकल्टी मेंबर डिवाइडेड दैट एक्टिविटी इनटू 6 पार्ट, 3 to 4. ऑप्टिमम साइज इज मैक्सिमम 5 डायमेंशन. अगर आपकी 5 से ज़्यादा डायमेंशन होगी, चांसेस ऑफ ओवरलैपिंग इज देयर और ओवर वेटेज ऑफ डिफरेंट डायमेंशंस में बी देयर, and it is difficult for the teacher to refer to that rubric sheet for assessment. आपके पास rubric है. When the student is presenting information in a seminar, you need to open that criteria, write the roll number of the student, write A, B, C and D grade. When the student is presenting information, simultaneously the teacher is assessing the performance of the student and give final remarks to the student. एट प्रेजेंट क्या हो रहा है, सेमिनार हो जाता है, आफ्टर 1 week or 2 week द टीचर इज गोइंग टू डिस्प्ले द स्कोर्स, और समटाइम सेमिनार एक्टिविटी हैपेंड एंड टीचर इज नॉट गोइंग टू डिस्क्लोज द स्कोर. स्टूडेंट के पास फाइनली क्या जा रही है, उनकी इंटरनल इवैल्यूएशन. So that is not assessment practice, that is not assessment for learning. We are just fulfilling the conditions as per the क्राइटेरिया डिफाइन कि बोर्ड ने 3 असाइनमेंट दिए हैं, 3 में से 2 पास जो है उसके मैंने मार्क्स देने. सो वी आर गिविंग मार्क्स एज पर द फेस वैल्यू. वी नीड टू फॉलो एन ऑब्जेक्टिव क्राइटेरिया कि स्टूडेंट के पास भी इंफॉर्मेशन जाए दैट वेयर आई नीड टू इम्प्रूव अपॉन टू गेट गुड मार्क्स और गुड ग्रेड. सो आपका ऑप्टिमम साइज ऑफ डायमेंशन कितना होता है, 4 to 5. So there are many different styles of rubric that one can use, but this is the most popular kind of a rubric sheet many of the institutions are already using. So it can be used for assessment practices also, it can be used for your internal assessment also. The second thing that I want to show to all the members, there may be few subjects, there is a demand of marking scheme. कि how I am going to assess that activity. Say for example, mathematical teacher, the teacher who are dealing with the numerical kind of a subject. So उसमें हमें departmental level पे क्या define करना है, whether there is a step by step marking or we are going to give marks to the student for the final right answer. So holistic kind of rubric, 5, 4, 3 and 2. 5 marks किसको मिलेंगे, 4 किसको मिलेंगे, 3 किसको मिलेंगे, 2 किसको मिलेंगे. सो कई टीचर तो फॉर्मूला लिखने का नंबर दे रहे हैं, कुछ टीचर जो है वो फाइनल कंक्लूजन का मार्क्स दे रहे हैं. सो डिपार्टमेंटल लेवल पे आपकी सेम तरह की असेसमेंट प्रैक्टिस नीड टू बी फॉलोड. अगर एक टीचर क्राइटेरिया फॉलो कर रहा है डिपार्टमेंटल लेवल पे, यू विल वैलिडेट दैट क्राइटेरिया एंड दैट क्राइटेरिया यूज्ड फॉर ऑल द स्टूडेंट्स ऑफ योर डिपार्टमेंट. So next part is when it comes to the evaluation, the final scoring, how are we going to do this? So this example is rubric for teaching effectiveness. So these are the certain dimension and suppose this is the scale 4, 3, 2 and 1. Now the teacher need to give weightage to these two dimensions, these different dimensions. So teacher classify knowledge in subject 2, कम्युनिकेशन के 2 नंबर देंगे, ड्रेस कोड का 1 नंबर, फ्रेंडलीनेस का 0.5 मार्क्स ओनली एंड असाइनमेंट प्रेपरेशन 2 मार्क्स ओनली. रूब्रिक का टास्क है आपकी टीचिंग इफेक्टिवनेस को इवैल्यूएट करना. सो डायमेंशन क्लासिफाइड है, डायमेंशंस का वेटेज क्लासिफाइड है, देयर इज अ स्केल गिवन बाय द टीचर. So suppose your head of department entered in your class with the rubric in a hand and you are presenting information. The head of department will simply provide remarks on the rubric sheet. Knowledge in the subject, excellent. Communication skill, 3 marks. Dress code, 3 marks. Friendliness, excellent. Assignment preparation, 3 marks. So weightage is already given, 4 into 3, 3 into 2, 3 into 1. So there will be a final score. Suppose final score is 40.5 out of 46, means teaching effectiveness is up to 88%, not 100%. So it is the hint to the teacher कि मैं जिस dimension में मैं weak हूँ, where I need to improve upon, I need to punctuality. 9:05 पे आ रहे हो, 9 बजे क्लास शुरू हो रही थी, the teacher can improve upon. अगर आपका फ्रेंडलीनेस है, ओवर फ्रेंडली हो रहे हो कभी कभी, उसमें भी हेड ऑफ डिपार्टमेंट कहाँ चला जाएगा, वन पे. सो टीचर नीड टू हैव अ फीलिंग दैट वेयर आई नीड टू इम्प्रूव अपॉन. So these are few of the examples. Another आती है हम developmental kind of rubric. When we are preparing for NB accreditation process, the developmental kind of rubric need to be prepared at institute level. So these kind of rubric help us to define or monitor the development of a process, product or behavior. It means, another example is, so for example, there are few weaker students in your department, 4 to 5. The teacher will identify those weaker students, or department will identify, and there are extra classes organized for those students, extra activities organized for those students, and आपने एक time period fix कर लिया. Every third week there will be evaluation. Evaluation, not that you are going to conduct a written test. You will you observe the behavior of the student. You will try to understand the kind of ability the students are able to develop with those extra efforts put in for the group of the student. So हर 3-3 हफ्ते बाद हम उनका developmental criteria check कर रहे हैं, and ultimately we give hint to the department that up to this extent that student ability is available, IQ ability is available, and we are able to develop this much of level among students. So हम उन्हें periodically monitor कर रहे हैं. Likewise, the institution policies, the institution guidelines, the practices followed at institute level, the developmental rubric can be prepared at departmental level. So when it comes to the preparation of the rubric, first the teacher need to reflect upon what can be the part of assessment under this particular assessment or assignment. Then after reflecting, you need to list the different stages कि पहले presentation में उसकी presentation अच्छी होनी चाहिए, information collect करके लाए, PowerPoint slides need to be available, क्वेश्चन आंसर में पार्टिसिपेट करे, उन्हें इग्नोर ना करे. when somebody is giving feedback, that feedback need to be taken in a positive way. So हमने list कर ली that these are the different activities the student is going to be perform. Next, grouping and labeling. So when I'm saying presentation skill must be good, when I'm presenting verbally, at that time only my non-verbal behavior come in picture. तो कोई उसे अलग अलग इवेलुएट नहीं करेगा ना कि पहले 5 मिनट आप आपका वर्बल बिहेवियर देखेंगे, नेक्स्ट 5 मिनट विल बी नॉन वर्बल बिहेवियर. सो ये आपकी एक डायमेंशन होगी. So we group and label that dimension as communication skill that include verbal as well as non-verbal behavior. So after assessing the performance, what will be the effect on your system? Application क्या है? अगर आपने written assignment 3 बार दी, उस written assignment का student की performance पे क्या impact आया? अगर नहीं आया तो आपको एक्टिविटी चेंज करनी है. अगर इम्प्रूव हुआ है तो व्हाट नेक्स्ट? कि आपने राइटिंग तो इम्प्रूव कर लिया, अब नेक्स्ट आगे आप क्या इम्प्रूव करोगे? सो एप्लीकेशन ऑफ दैट असेसमेंट ऑलवेज नीड टू बी थिंक अपॉन. सो दैट इज वाई दीज काइंड ऑफ क्राइटेरियाज आर वेरी यूजफुल. एक तो स्टूडेंट के पास क्राइटेरिया इज हैंडी, देर इज नो हीटेड आर्गुमेंट हैपनिंग इन द क्लास कि उसको 8 मार्क्स क्यों दिए या मुझे 7 मार्क्स क्यों दिए. दिस अ ट्रांसपेरेंट काइंड ऑफ असेसमेंट followed by the teacher. Timely, appropriate and reflective. Before preparing for that activity, the student already know कि किस dimension को कितनी weightage दे रखी है. The student will spend time as per the weightage given by the teacher for that dimension. तो वो PowerPoint slide design पे ज़्यादा focus ना करके किस पे focus करेगा? Collection of information पे. So students are preparing for that activity as per the expectation find out by the teacher. So अपनी maximum effort and energy वो किस चीज़ पे put करेगा? To fulfill the expectations of the department. Honest and supportive. Honest and supportive में क्या रहेगा कि you are not going to assess the performance as per the face value. So when I'm saying face value, last semester में वो student topper था, this semester also the student will remain topper, in the next 4 semester also the student will remain focused. 40% weightage is given for internal evaluation. So somewhere at departmental level we consider that this particular candidate is very good. Maybe the teacher is giving same kind, all the teachers are giving same kind of activity. हर teacher 3 assignment देते हैं, 3 में से 2 best count होती हैं. Student writing skills are very good. वो फटाफट से असाइनमेंट करके दे देता है, 20 मार्क्स पक्के हैं. रिटर्न असाइनमेंट इंटरनल टेस्ट है, मेमोराइजेशन एबिलिटी इज वेरी गुड. आपने हर बारी वो डिफाइन, स्टेट, एक्सप्लेन एंड लिस्ट differentiate Diya. The student is very good in that ability also. We are not catering the diversity available in our classes. That is why students are not able to show their real potential. So these kind of tools are very honest and supportive. It will help the departmental faculty and the senior management to reflect upon what kind of activities are prevailing in department, how the teachers are evaluating the performance of the student, and how the students are taking part in those activities. So major focus किस चीज पे रहेगा? लर्निंग के ऊपर. डाइवर्स enabling environment को create करेगा at institute level. So yes sir. So checklist for effective rubric. First, after designing rubric at departmental level, we need to think upon कि whatever learning outcome designed, as per those learning outcome only the assessment criteria is there. If you are demanding critical thinking skill, is your rubric reflecting that? And rubric आप किसके लिए बनाओगे? Activity के लिए. Have you given any activity that is reflection based activity that need to be think upon? Does it cover the important dimension of student performance as per your subject? Do the criteria reflect current conception of excellence in the field? Does the rubric reflect what you emphasize in your teaching? So assess what you teach. Are the dimensions or the scales well defined? Is it clear to everyone that what each scale measure? Is there a clear basis for assigning scores at each scale point value? And do the student need to do something extra to earn reward? And most importantly, does the rubric reward or penalize student based on the skill unrelated to the outcome being measured? So it is expectation as per the course outcome. It is not expectation as per the choice of the faculty. So that need to be focused upon. So as a good teacher, we need to facilitate the process of learning rather than spoon feeding information among our students. Develop mind that are eager to collect information from resources rather than just memorizing information from the teacher as a resource. So this is all from my side.